Welcome back to Startup Street. Now, despite a booming startup ecosystem, women-led ventures still receive less than 3% of total venture capital funding in India. Global consumer internet group Prosus is looking to change that. Its inaugural Tech FoundHER challenge awarded $100,000 in equity-free capital to 4 high-potential women-led startups across sectors like emotion AI, sexual wellness, and climate tech. To talk about the mission, the momentum, and what's next, I'm joined by Prajna Khanna, the Vice President and Global Head of Sustainability at Prosus. Also with me, my colleague Ritu. Prajna, welcome to Startup Street. And let's start with the big picture. What motivated Prosus to launch the Tech FoundHER Challenge? And how does it, tie into your broader sustainability or inclusion goals? And could this evolve into an annual initiative, possibly even expanding across geographies or sectors?
Hi, yes, thank you first of all for having me, Ritu and Shruti. It's a pleasure to be on an all-women screen over here. Rather than the big picture, we started with the picture for ourselves. Last December, we were looking at our portfolio and I had an epiphany, and I was talking to our CIO then and our CEO of Ventures and also our CEO in India, Ashutosh, and said, how do we not have many women-led startups in our portfolio? We're very actively looking at investable startups, opportunities, and there seems to be a very, very big gaping gap over there. So we just started with trying to solve or try to understand for ourselves what was going on. There is, whether is it our own processes, is it our own venture teams, or is it just not the lack of an ecosystem of women-led investable businesses? It was a question in true startup ethos, that's the question we started wanting to answer. And the Tech Founder Challenge was really an absolute jet ski to figure that out. For us, we had set ourselves a success KPI of even if 20 really amazing investable startups would have presented to ourselves, we would be super excited. We actually had 121. We needed to close the platform because we were overwhelmed by the number of startups applying. Co-founded women startups, solo women founders, which is, I think, so much more meaningful. But that was for us the first big proof case of investable women-led businesses are there. And as you know, the research suggests that 35% ROI is what is delivered by women-led businesses than men-led businesses. So it's really just to understand first the business case, are they out there? And now to really understand how can we get that cohort in front of investors. So that was the first step for us.
Well, hi, this is Ritu stepping in. All these applications and more that you had asked for that you received across 22 cities and these 14 sectors. What really stood out for you the most about this cohort of women founders? Because the winners span, across all of these emotion AI, digital health, climate tech, and so on. What does it say about the next frontier for women-led innovation in India?
So, Shruti, first of all, it busted myths for us. Our anticipation, and I'm really embarrassed to say this also for myself, is that, a lot of the startups would be in the consumer space or linked to women products or beauty or apparel, or there would be some sort of, e-commerce platforms. But we were absolutely blown away by the number of AI startups in the top 20 that were selected from the 121. How many of them are actually really technical, deep tech businesses? This was also very, very interesting for us to note. And it was a myth buster for everybody. What it means is that there is somewhere this funding gap, and we need to figure out what we need to shift. Is it I think it's less than 15% of women are in the VC ecosystem writing the checks. So is that the issue that we need to tackle? Do we need to bring, just like building inclusive teams, you need to have a very diverse board of people who are recruiting. Do we also have need to build in very considered, very consciously, a diverse board of VC check writers? So that was one of the key insights that we were thinking of, okay, that's the next step we need to do. The other question is, what do we need to do for this cohort that we pulled together? It's not a small cohort, 121 really, really great deep tech businesses. How do we get them in front of the investor community in India and globally? What was also very interesting for us to learn is that...
got that, Prajna.
Yes?
Well, Prajna, since we're running out of time, I have to stop you there. But thank you so much for joining us here. It's been a pleasure hearing you, and we wish you the best with this event. And we're going to move on now to what else? Well, it's not just billboards and TV ads, but what